So, folks were asking for tomfoolery. Here it is. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Warframe Wednesday, episode 2. So, today we're going to be covering the second of our starters. Today we're going to be covering the second of our starters, and he's already right up here on screen. Just give me a quick second because it seems like Steam still wants to commandeer my controller. There we go. That's better. So, as for trying that little something new, well, I actually managed to get my hands on a decent light thanks to Oliver. So hopefully, at the very least, I'm looking a little less shadowed. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and get ourselves going. We need to be making our way to the training area in at one of our local relays. But while we're getting everything else all prepped, how's everybody doing this morning? Yeah, I got that SRM file. So probably tonight after I get home from work, I'll uh, I'll drop it into ZSNES and see if we can actually get it going. Let's fast travel to. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, number 2 of your 3 Warframe starters. This right here is Volt. As you can, as I'm sure you can guess just from the name alone, Volt is more element based. He's more electricity based. Now, just like with Excalibur and pretty much every other Warframe in the game, you've got your passive abilities, which are definitely going to help as far as augmenting what Volt can already do. And Volt's passive in particular is basically a static battery. Now you'll notice in the upper right corner, up near where my health and armor gauge is at, you'll see another little icon with the numbers ticking up. Basically, Volt's static battery passive, the way it's set up is that as he's moving along the ground, whether it's walking, sprinting, sliding, any sort of grounded movement, and it builds up that static charge. The max on that charge is up to 1,000. Volt's immediate next attack will get a damage boost based on how much of that static charge you've got built up. Needless to say, that right there is going to come in incredibly handy. That's going to come in incredibly handy once you get into really trying to build up and beef up Volt's unique abilities. Let's go ahead and get ourselves a. There we go. Let's go ahead and get ourselves a group of training dummies so I can actually show off Volt's abilities. uh, to answer your question, all I'm doing is just rotating the left stick in a circle. You know, It's not necessarily jittering, but real movement. Because if I just try to jitter left and right, sure, it'll still build it up, but it's got to be like full turns. So, long story short, you remember that Family Guy episode where Peter was building up all that static just to zap people? Yeah. And now you cannot unhear. Well, for those of us in the audience that aren't hearing impaired, my apologies. But now you cannot unhear Peter Griffin going every time this guy moves along the ground. But now that I've got that static charge built up, we're already getting like we're already getting truckloads just off of that one hit. There was only like maybe 200 some odd, but we were getting in the thousands after that full charge. But that's it for his passives. Regarding his stats, since he is one of the starters, Volt is pretty much set up without mods to be just more of an all-rounder. But what makes him unique, especially compared to Excalibur, is the fact that you can already start taking advantage of elemental damage and elemental status procs. Now, to go ahead and start demonstrating Volt's abilities. The first one that you start off with, basic shock. Nothing too fancy. It's direct damage, but if you catch a group of enemies, especially as you level it up, as expected, the electricity will arc between enemies, keeping them also on stun lock for a little while and doing a fair amount of damage. I mean, I damn near got the whole conga line doing the Harlem Shake right here. And it's got fairly solid range too. So basically, if you got someone in your sights, cast shock, and that right there is going to leave them open, setting them up for any sort of extended damage you might want to do afterward. Now, once you hit rank 3, that's going to unlock Volt's second ability for you, Speed. Now, Speed is really good, not just because it increases your movement speed, of course, but the faster you move along the ground, the faster you build up that static charge. So, let's say if you're still working with just your first two abilities, you've already got max charge, cast shock, and, on enemies that aren't currently maxed out, you're going to be doing more damage and you're going to be doing greater stun. Okay, we're just about at the max charge again. And bam. So, again, pretty straightforward in its applications, but it's got some nice synergy. Volt's third ability, and this one is the one that really makes him unique, and even for one of the starters, still still has him as part of the end game meta is his shield. Literally, an electric barrier. As long as that thing stays up, it'll block any incoming damage. The angle you cast it at is pretty much determined by where your camera's aiming. So if you've modded yourself with enough energy for it, then you can basically just cast like a dome around yourself and keep yourself protected from all incoming damage for as long as those shields stay up. But there's a couple other interesting little tidbits about that shield. For starters, you can pick up the shield, and you've still got that protection basically from all incoming frontal damage. But you can also run people over with it. So, shield plus speed, and you are now a walking Mack truck. But it gets better because aside from basically turning Volt into, you know, a riot trooper, yeah. But aside from turning Volt into, like I said, a walking, aside from turning Volt into a riot trooper, when you lay down the electric shields, any weapon that you fire through the shield gets additional electric damage. So, if you got yourself a basic pistol, cast the shield, fire through it, now your pistol rounds have electric damage. But it's also interesting because you can actually put up that shield, and say if you've got say weapons that do a different element like fire or ice, you can get that combined element damage firing through the electric shields. And of course, if you've got enough energy for it, you can basically set a corridor of barriers, fire through all of those shields, and just tack on the damage from there. Even with something that already fires electric rounds, you'll notice the electric damage just keeps going up. Oh, I messed up on that jump. There we go. Now, for anyone actually playing Volt, you'll unlock that ability once you hit rank 7. Once you get to rank 10, that's when you open up Volt's final ability, Discharge. Discharge is basically an enhanced AoE version of Shock. Oh yeah, you can fire any Warframe ability that's a projectile. You can fire that through the electric shield for extra damage. So let me go ahead and get Volt fueled back up, and I'll I'll demonstrate it for you. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Shield up there. Shock through it. Damage and stuns guaranteed. Why did I cast it in midair? Simply to show you that that shield can be cast literally anywhere Volt can go. And wherever you are, you can also pick it up. Oh yeah, that is one thing I forgot to mention about the electric shield. As long as you're carrying it, it'll drain energy to keep up that barrier. Yeah, yeah, actually no, you're right. Some games actually can be really iffy when it comes to lightning based abilities. But I'd say this one actually handles it pretty well. Now going back to discharge, I've moved around enough to where max charge on I've got the max charge off of that static battery. So what you've got right here is what you've got right there with discharge is pretty much exceptional crowd control. Like if you're surrounded, you have the energy and you needed to deal damage as well as, you know, de-ass the area and quickly, discharge is going to be your go-to. That'll be your go-to panic button. So all in all, between Volt's abilities, you know, really, you've got really killer synergy that can be basically stacked up on top of effective use of Volt's movement along the ground, building up that static battery. So if you're looking for something that's still straightforward but has a little bit more variety than what you'd get from Excalibur at the start of the game, Volt's got you covered. However, there is one other reason why I would highly recommend Volt being the starter that you pick as opposed to Excalibur. And that's because if you don't pick Volt at the beginning, picking up his components and building him is going to be the most difficult out of all three of your starters. And let me get to showing you why. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and get us back to the orbiter. Now, the reason it's trickier or just more difficult and more time consuming to get Volt as opposed to Excalibur or even Mag, it's because in order to get him, you have to be a part of a dojo. And with dojos in Warframe, once you finish up the initial story quests, then you'll eventually get access to being able to either join or start your own. If you join a dojo, then it's probably already established enough to where they've got everything set up. But if you decide to build a dojo of your own, simply to get access to the dojo specific gear and warframes, then that's going to make things difficult because not only do you have to get access to dojos, but you also have to get access to the materials to construct each one of the required rooms and required items before you can even before you can even have access to getting Volt's blueprints itself. Now, Volt is one of four Warframes that are available specifically through the dojo. The other three being Wukong, Banshee, and Ninja. Sorry, Wukong, Banshee, Ninja, and Zephyr. So I take that back. There are five Warframes that are available through the dojo. And of course, I plan on covering the other four at later weeks. Or maybe after a certain point, I'll just put up a poll and see what Warframes folks want me to cover, and do do a viewer request type thing. But in order to build the Tenno Lab, then you need to build the other required rooms like the reactor, and I think there are like two or three others. And if you don't have the premium currency, if you don't have the platinum for it, then that stuff is just plain time consuming. If you want to save yourself some time, start the game with Volt. It'll be a little trickier because there's more tactical options for you. But in the long run, in the long run, I personally think you'll be better off because you're not having to spend so much time trying to get an admittedly solid Warframe that could actually carry you through the early portion of the game. Now, part of how I play Warframe, and it doesn't have to be, how any of you play it. You know, you, you know, the game's free to play. You can pretty much pick it up and play it however the hell you want. How I usually go about it is with each Warframe, I tend to play using a theme. And the theme that I use for each Warframe is basically, built around the Warframe's theme itself, built around its abilities, built around its skills. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the mods to augment his abilities like I do with Excalibur. But if you want to play if you want to play a decent Volt, then I would say build more around, if you want to, just have him be a damage dealing machine, then find mod cards that you can use to increase the damage of each of his abilities. So, stuff like Intensify. If you run across something like Hunter Adrenaline or Rage, those are good mod cards to stick with because, let's face it, if you're not focusing on his electric shield, you're going to be taking damage. But you take damage, that'll be converted to energy that you can use to keep casting his stuff. Always good. Now, considering the affinity or the polarity for the aura slot, which is right up here at the top where I got the cursor, there's well, the one that would usually go there would be the one that increases your melee weapon damage. But Volt isn't necessarily a melee character. So You got to play with strengths. Okay, I think I may have been going through this a bit fast. So any spot in particular where I lost you, or how, how far back would I need to go? Hmm. Well, yeah, that right there's the big thing about Warframe in general. Even when you're going through the basics, there's still like outside of working with a Warframe's abilities, it can still be pretty easy to it can still be pretty easy to get lost. So I mean, like the best way to really pick up on this, I think, would be just to sit down, take some time to kind of play through and tinker with the early missions in the game itself. Yeah, I was trying to look through the I was trying to look through how to set up captions on Twitch, and it's a whole it's a mess, really, because you basically have to try and code the captions into the stream. They don't have any standard closed or open captions there. And of course, we don't have you know, anyone who's as dedicated to actually typing up what I'm saying, so there is that. Let's see. But anyway, like I was saying earlier, I try to put together my Warframes, based on the kind of theme that they have going. But now that we've got something basic for Volt built up, let's go ahead and take them really quickly into a mission. We got about 10 minutes left, I'd say. And you know what? Up until the point where we can actually get captions going on the stream here, then, or I'll just, I'll get with Oliver and, you know, see how he see how he did his. Then what I think I'll do is, again, just post these streams. I'll post these streams on YouTube, and hopefully the YouTube captions there will actually give you something of an idea as far as, as far as what I'm saying, that'll, something that'll help you actually keep caught up. But let's go ahead and put Volt through some live fire exercises so I can give you a a little bit more of an idea of what Volt can do on the ground. Now, usually a good practice for Volt is to, like, no matter what mission you're on, just start off running, sliding, getting to where you need to go, and that should have you build up enough charge to go ahead and just start using your abilities and going on the offensive. Now, again, at the start of the game, in the early missions, you're only going to be using shock because that's all you got. But eventually, you'll start picking the other stuff up. Already at 1,000, so let's get everybody chasing me, and then bam. Now, if you're actually playing in a public setting, if you're playing in a squad, then most of the time when you cast speed, it'll also affect your teammates. So they'll get the benefits of the speed boost as well. Okay, good. Did let me pick it back up. All right, where are they? Oh, should probably get some more life support. There we go. So yeah, between now and next week, I'll go ahead and talk to Oliver and see what's up with how he does his captions and see if I can maybe see if I can maybe copy that so I'll have decent starting a decent starting platform for actually having captions for the rest of our hearing impaired audience. Open that up. Ah, there we go. No, no. This is the first I'm hearing of a new trailer. All right, let me build up enough energy real quick. Let's see if I can get enough enemies together for a good casting of discharge. Booyah! Now, if any of those enemies had survived long enough after that casting of discharge, then they would have been stuck there for quite a while, just paralyzed, the lightning arc, the electricity arcing between them. And of course, with the right mod cards, you could expand just how wide that discharge goes. I should hope so. Yes, electric. Yeah, Volt is basically an ninja, electric ninja football player. There you go. Best summary description I could find right there. But of course, even though all I did with this particular appearance for Volt is just, kind of add a little bit to his default colors, I see Volt as more of a Pikachu. I mean, yes, Excalibur is the poster boy. He's like Excalibur is the poster boy. So, you know, he would be the Pikachu, but if you're looking for something that actually, does electricity, then there's your Pikachu. And now that I think about it, the yellow and black doesn't look too bad on him. But anyway, ladies and gents, it's 10 a.m. and it may not have been a full hour, but I am going to go ahead and drop this episode of Warframe Wednesday right here. Now, like I said, it can be a little easy to get lost, especially with so much information coming at you. But that's part of why I want to just go over each one of the Warframes one by one. because if nothing else, I think if you find a Warframe that helps you get into the game, something that helps you crack the surface, then once you get underneath and really start digging into it, you'll be able to fine tune the experience and find something that's more your speed, something that really feels like you can customize it for you. And that's really all I'm aiming for here. Is to get more people interested in Warframe and at least help look, the game starts off solid, but then gets better. Think of it like a medium rare steak. The steak's good as is at the first bite, but the closer you get to the more tender parts of the steak, the better it gets. But that's enough analogies for now. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for this last 45 minutes. It's been fun. And I'm looking forward to coming back and doing more next week when I cover the third and final starter. But I'm also looking forward to doing more with tomorrow morning's Cup of Gaming. So, till then, you have yourselves a top notch Wednesday, eh? Stay good, neighborhood.